Hello, everyone. So we are myself. My name is Logan Hammer, and I'm with my buddy Jordan Pennington. Say hi, Jordan.
How's it going, everyone?
Today we are recording our first ever podcast. We are the Next Gen Burnouts, and today we will be covering the race over in Fontana. Man, what
Yes,
a
sir.
race!
What a race. What a race. And I do want to say, too, just as, the pilot episode of Next Gen Burnouts, we're looking to cover NASCAR weekly. We hope, of course,
Hmm?
that's the plan. Get on here, discuss a little bit, maybe have some hot takes. I'm sure none of those takes will, come back to bite us by any means, but we'll have to see about that. Uh, and also, too, next week, just going to throw this in there, talking a little F1. We're hoping to cover quite a bit. Um, yeah, so I
We
think it'll be a
will
fun.
also try to cover some of the Xfinity if we can. We
No
primarily
promises.
focus, yeah, can't promise that, but we do focus on a weekly basis. Sunday, after the race is over, we're going to give our analysis. We are not experts. That's a disclaimer.
By no means.
No, but we will
Absolutely not.
give our analysis, chat it through, maybe have some discussions, some disagreements, but we will be primarily covering the NASCAR Cup Series races as well as F1 too. So
Yep.
just putting that out there. Next gen boy, excuse me, got a tickle in my throat.
Yeah, what was that? Is that a little tickle?
Sorry, sorry, got to get the jitters out. Next gen burnouts. So let's start off. Let's start from a wide view. What do you think about Fontana? I know there was some discussion if this race was even going to happen all throughout the week. They were
Yep.
talking about the weather. I know the truck series got canceled, and
Yep.
Xfinity race actually was about 45 minutes after the Cup Series race. It's probably on right now. So,
As we speak, it is probably on.
mm,
So good point, just to kind of circle back. Don't expect a lot of Xfinity talk, but as it is, it's going right now. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I thought it was a good race. I'm pretty sad. Obviously, the track is it's not going away, but as we know it, it's
mm,
going away. Obviously, as most are familiar, it's getting converted to a short track.
mhm.
How that's going to look, I personally have no idea. I don't know if my friend Logan here has any idea how that's going to look, but
What I was hearing from Mike Joy and Clinton Boyer was saying that they're doing a reconfiguration of the track right now. It will be, as you mentioned, getting converted to a short track. They said that they might not have it ready by 24 or 25. So
how that.
that we're both located in Arizona, so we like the West Coast races, if
Yep.
we're able to attend them. And really right now, all we really have is Fontana, Sonoma, Las Vegas, and Phoenix. So it's kind of a bummer for us that we're going to be losing one of the tracks. It's about a 6 hour drive for us there.
Yep.
So that's kind of a bummer. But 2025 comes around. I would definitely love to attend the inaugural race of more of a short track. And just kind of as we're talking about Fontana, I've just heard all throughout the week that a lot of the drivers, that what they call that, the drivers' favorites, right?
What do
For
you mean?
this track, they're big
Oh, okay.
fans of this track.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I
so
saw that. I saw the same thing.
yep. And I would say overall, my personal opinion, I thought it was a great race. I thought it's a really good end for this racetrack. What were your thoughts on it?
Thought it was a great race. As we kind of discussed before we started recording here, a lot of cautions. There was quite a bit of cautions. I don't know if that plays into the fact that the rain was just so heavy throughout the entire weekend and week leading up.
Mhm.
So I did see quite a bit of reports that obviously that track has not been repaved or uh, re-asphalted in so many years since it was even built,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So I mean that's obviously a bummer, but overall, I mean I thought the race was pretty solid. I don't know how we haven't even mentioned it. The ending wasn't too bad either. I
No.
mean, our boy Kyle Busch getting across that checkered line, I love it.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention too, and I want to tip my hats to all the men and women over at NASCAR. They did an excellent job of preparing that track. I heard reports that they were out at 5:30 in the morning. making sure it was dry and drivable. And they were working on the track basically until leading up to the race. So thought that was really impressive that they were able to pull it all together and give us a fantastic race. So let's kind of get into it. Let's talk a little bit about it. So some of the pre-race analysis that they were talking about, heard a lot of talk about both the Kyles, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch. They were the projected winners. I even heard they had a nickname for Kyle Larson as 2 Mile Kyle. So
I didn't
he,
hear that.
yep, he had a big projection of doing really good at Fontana. He is actually won previously at Fontana, and so is Busch too. So that was kind of leading up into the race. What were your pre-race predictions for the race? Who were you thinking?
Well, I mean, of course, it's hard not to count out Kyle Larson considering he
Yep,
was literally the winner last year.
yep.
You got to kind of look at the historical data, and Larson's obviously a monster when it comes to anything NASCAR. But I liked Logano before this race.
Oh, really?
Truthfully,
Yeah.
he didn't have a bad race either. I actually have it right here. What did he finish?
I
You
got
should have it right
Logano
there.
at P10.
Not bad. I mean, obviously a little bit lower than he was running all day. But I had Logano personally. Obviously, I didn't make my picks official, so
Mhm.
no way to fact check me there. But I thought Logano had a great race. And Busch, obviously, my goodness, was a top runner all day long.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And I think you bring
Looked
up an
great.
interesting point, mentioning Logano too. Going into this race, even though he did not win the previous race over at Daytona, he was actually leading in points. So
Yep.
had a very strong race over in Daytona. I thought he was going to do good, but personally, myself, what I always like to do, I have a separate, but just to tell the fans, I have a separate Twitter called NASCAR Robot, where before races, I like to lock in 4 drivers, a manufacturer, and a dark horse. And for this pre-race, I put in Chris Buescher, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and AJ Allmendinger. So I
How'd Allmendinger do? How'd he perform?
Allmendinger was a DNF. Not gonna
Gotcha.
lie, he was a
Think
DNF.
I think he was the first out of the race too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but
We'll get into that in a little bit because I have
yeah,
comments to mention about a few of those cautions. But I'm going into this year, I am a big Chris Buescher fan. I really think this guy is going to do something this year. I really do. I have him. Me and you were talking earlier this week when we were putting in our picks for the playoffs and going all the way down to the
yep.
finals. And we were going back and forth on a few of those X Factor racers, and I'm definitely sold on Chris Buescher. I think he's a very extremely underrated racer.
I'm not sold. And
Really?
that's just how I sit. I don't know enough. Um, and it's very simple. I just simply don't know enough about him. So as of now, I'm not sold. I will gladly eat my words. If it comes down to the final 8, final 4, and he's somehow still there, we will remember this day. And you called it. But
I got it right here.
as of
And
now, and
just for
really quick too.
reference too, um, Chris Buescher did end up P13 for the day, so
Not bad.
not
I just
bad at all.
I have Daytona's results pulled up here as well, and he ended up P4. So
P4.
not bad. I mean, he survived the big one. Obviously, Daytona is a battle of attrition there. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'll trust you. I'm gonna take your word for it. I'm not a Busher guy, but I guess it is what it is.
There you go. And just to throw it out there, so I had Buescher. He ended up P13. Hamlin P6, not
Not
bad.
bad.
Blaney P26. He was battling in the top 10 for quite some time. Think a little bit before stage 2 ended, but I think when it came down to his pit strategy, that's where he kind of dropped back then. Allmendinger did end with the DNF.
It happens.
But the one that saved me all day long was Daniel Suarez, my dark horse, ended with a P4. I was rooting at him, and Hamlin were up there. at least the very end, with the pit strategy at the end, people move and stuff. But
Yeah,
Hamlin and Suarez were right up there for me. So, to end today with two people in the top 10, then when it comes to manufacturer, I put Ford. It's funny, I actually had Chevy P1, and then at the last minute switched it to Ford, and ended
doesn't
up
count.
being Chevy for Toyota. So that's kind of my picks for today and what happened with those.
Not bad picks. And just to kind of circle back there, Suarez P7 in Daytona. So he's putting together a few nice races
Very
to
good.
start the year. Not
Very
bad
good.
at all.
And also
Uh,
to add on to that too, Trackhouse Racing, what a start for the year. We had today Ross Chastain ending P3, Daniel
Killed it.
Suarez P4.
Not bad.
They're building on that momentum of last year. And Ross Chastain, we can talk about him a little bit. He was looking really good today. Really good.
Had a chance to kind of run the field. I mean, he won stage one, followed
Yep.
it up with a stage two win,
Mm.
ended up P3 to end the day. Yeah, I think Chastain is a force to be reckoned with this year. I mean, obviously he got in that final four last year, was right there at the very end of it in Phoenix, which I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. You and I were there for the
Oh,
Phoenix Championship race. Wanted to just go ahead and kind of
I
let,
can see that shirt right there.
yeah, I had to get a souvenir. It is orange, but it is what it is. I just had to do it. Uh, but no, Chastain, awesome driver. Excited to see what he can do this year. If he can just stay, keep it clean. It's all
Keep it
with
clean.
Chastain. You don't really know what you're gonna get. Well, I take that back. You do know what you're gonna get. That's why we love him. That's why we love him. Um, I guess I just wanted to also kind of mention a name that doesn't get the most love, but had a very, very consistent race this today. And it's funny, you were actually mentioning him yesterday. It's Corey LaJoy.
Oh
Ran,
yeah.
ran literally a borderline a perfect race. He wasn't up, he wasn't down. I believe he finished. Let me double check here. It was
Got
P14.
him at P14.
Yep, P14.
Yep.
And that's basically where he was all day.
Yep.
There was never any issues on his end, and that's what you want. You want to get in there and just finish the race. I mean, I don't know. Just had to throw that out there. Corey LaJoy, fantastic race.
And I wanted to add on to that too. I noticed throughout the first three cautions, not the first one, but probably the next two or three cautions going forward, he was involved in all of those.
Really?
Yes, he was. So, yeah, no, he definitely, I took some notes on it. Brad Keselowski, yeah, so he tapped out Brad Keselowski on lap 42. Corey LaJoy gave him a little hit and stuff. So there were a few. I was just watching. I couldn't believe how many times it was always Corey LaJoy was the one that triggered a lot of these cautions. But overall, to overcome those cautions and everything, end up P4, excuse me, P14. I think that's a good day.
Did you say he was involved in every one, or he was like the factor of every one? I didn't catch you.
He was the one who was initiating it.
Huh, I didn't even catch that.
And
Okay.
not intentionally. It's not Ross Chastain, but
No, definitely
you
not.
know, you know.
Or
Hmm?
or Logano. I don't know if you caught that caution there that he kind of caused the big one, if I'm not mistaken. That was see, brake check-in. I don't know what he was doing there. That was a little the broadcast team kind of felt like it was unintentional, but I don't know. I know there's some angry drivers after that. I don't know if you got any thoughts on that or what you think, but
I had a really hard time identifying that big crash. I think Fox, the broadcast team, I'm just gonna be honest, I think they did a terrible job of reporting that. It was very hard to identify what
I
caused that. They didn't even seem to know. So it was really, I don't know. Did you say you thought that Logano? Sorry.
I'm not gonna lie, this is our first disagreement of the pod. I think it was pretty clear. I think Logano was clearly in the fault there. I mean, I'm not saying that what he did was intentional, but he was holding up the pack. And I like you kind of mentioned, the Fox team, they kind of had a good point. Since he was leading, I guess he has the right because what was happening based on what I saw is he just wasn't accelerating fast enough, and the entire field came up behind him. And obviously, once you start, bumping and running there, it's bound to, cause some issues. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a 10-car pileup. So
Just to
uh,
clarify too, that you are talking about the 10-car collision,
yes,
correct? Okay.
yes, yep, that was yeah, absolutely, that was all Logano, in my opinion.
Okay.
Um, but
I'll have to rewatch that. I don't know if I don't know if we can officially call this our first disagreement. Might be a misunderstanding. I'm gonna have to
okay,
go
that's
back and
fair.
rewatch that to see. But I had a really hard time of identifying. At first, I was trying to gonna write down all the people that were involved, but I thought it was 8. I counted 8 at first, but then I
Yep.
was seeing 10. It was just too much. And we could just have a quick discussion about the broadcast. What do you feel about Fox broadcasting right now?
I don't mind it. I mean,
Really?
as far as the broadcast team, I like the personalities that they have on the team. I don't find myself like wanting to mute the TV, anything like that. Now, if you want to get into the commercial breaks,
Well, we're
uh,
talking about the presentation as a whole, so that comes with the
okay.
commentators, just the general presentation, commercial breaks, all inclusive.
I mean, if you're going to throw in commercial breaks in there, then yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't know how really NASCAR will ever fix that issue. I felt like every time I got up or every time I sat down, commercial breaks coming up. And I'm
Yep.
like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, this is kind of ridiculous. Not kind of, it's very ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, but then again, kind of got spoiled, watching Formula One and just being able to sit down, watch a full race from start to finish with not one commercial interruption it's amazing. That is how watching motorsports should be,
Oh,
in
it should
my
be.
humble opinion. But got to pay the bills,
Yep.
and I understand that. So,
And when we're comparing a hour and a half race to a roughly about 4-hour race, it's just not possible for them not to
I,
have commercials. I did notice throughout the beginning of the race there would be no view of the race at all. But later on in the race, they kind of did that split screen where you had the commercial as well as that. I could live with that. If that's what I have to endure, I can live with the split screen. I'm not looking at the commercial. I'm
no,
watching
of
the
course not.
race. They have the race tracker up above. I can live with that. But when it's the entire screen is just a commercial, it's just choppy and sloppy.
Yep, I agree. I agree completely. And yeah, no, I don't think there needs to be anything more said on that. We could talk about it for the rest of the pod, how much the commercials ruin the integrity of the race almost. It's like, for example, I think it was last week even, go to commercial break. Christopher Bell is
Yeah,
P1,
yeah,
P2? Come
yeah.
back from commercial, he's P6, P5, and I'm sitting there like, what happened? Are they going to show a replay? Are they going to give us any type of analysis on it? And I didn't see anything. I could be wrong.
No,
Could
no,
very well be wrong, but it
I'm right
was
with you right there.
um yeah, that is definitely NASCAR's Achilles heel in my opinion.
Yep.
Um
Yep.
and unfortunately, don't see any way out of it. It is what it is at this point. Kind of what I wanted to touch on really quick as well. Uh, I have to. All right, it's one of my favorite drivers. You're going to hear me talk about him. Just get used to it. Chase Briscoe.
Oof.
What a
Oof.
disaster of a day. Were you seeing any of that on the
Oh yeah,
broadcast?
it's hard not to.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough, especially considering Daytona did absolutely terrible as well.
Mhm.
It's been a rough start to the year for Briscoe, also considering he's on that new contract, which well deserved. Just
Yeah.
signed it before the season. The 14, that's his. He's going to take it for himself. But definitely couldn't go without mentioning tough day for Briscoe, tough day for Stuart Haas in general, outside of Harvick,
Yeah.
which come on, the closer. It's Harvick. He's going to be there at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, also too, just to kind of go back on Briscoe. I mean, obviously, start of the day, terrible. Running, I think he was a few laps down even at one point.
Yep.
But he was able to pick it up. Finish P20, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I'd have to look at the exact P20. Is that what it was?
Right. Spot on.
not bad. I mean, I'll take that as far as a finish goes compared to, the first 20 laps. He looked miserable out there.
Something with his car just was not working. I heard a
Yeah,
lot of reports from inside his car that he said that there's a technical issue going on. I mean, back to Daytona last week, he was a DNF. So, can only go upwards from there. So
hey,
I think in P20, I mean, that we'll take that as a win for him. But besides the closer, Kevin Harvick, rough start for Stuart Haas. And
I agree.
while we're talking a little bit about issues and stuff, man, I feel bad for Kyle Larson. He was, like I mentioned earlier, projected winner and almost instantly, what was it, within the first 15 laps or so?
Didn't even get to the caution lap. The caution before
Yep.
he's out of the race. He was 2 laps down,
Well,
15.
you know what he did though, which I do respect, is he obviously ended up last, 29th, P29, but it was because they had an electrical issue inside his car. And they said that, we're basically done with the race, but we're going to continue to race. He could have just done a DNF and just
Right.
been done for the day. But I respect that him and all the hardworking people over at Hendrick Motorsports, that they kept him in. I think, did I hear that he was down 16 laps? Did I hear that?
That is insane. If so, I don't think it's 16. I think I see here it's 9. Let me
9.
see.
Okay.
Maybe. Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah, don't quote me on
that
that either. But
that is brutal. Brutal.
and while you were talking about Briscoe, as you could tell, my favorite driver, Martin Truex Jr., had a
Tough
rough
day.
day today, big time. Got penalized in the pit with his tire, and then it was later on. It was his second pit, if I'm not mistaken. He was coming out of the pit, and I did not catch who it was on the tip of my tongue. I'm not sure who it was, but they clipped him when he was coming out of the pit. Man,
Really?
and that was going to be a rough 2-mile race to get back into the pit to fix. But the silver lining in it all, he ended up P11.
I was just gonna say, for as bad of a day as he had, P11, you'll take that all day long. I thought at one point his car was gonna explode. It
Oh
was
yeah,
smoking, it was on
yeah.
fire. I was like, man, this is not Truex's day. But uh, I want to clarify too. It was Truex who, when he pitted early on in the race, one of his wheels actually came off and ran into another pit stall, correct? That was him.
Yep. And
That's
that's
what I
what he
thought.
got penalized for. Yep.
Yep.
Hmm.
Brutal. Brutal.
That was a rough one.
Those 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 pit stops, they can either make it or break it. They
Yeah.
can either make it or break you, is what they do. So, um,
God, the
hey,
pit stop I was watching very closely was at the end. I love the pit strategy at the end for a lot of the racers. The one I was watching very closely was when Busch and Chastain went in for their pit. If I'm not mistaken, God, because they went in, and I was almost gonna think that they were gonna get a hit with a speeding violation going into that pit. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe Bush came out on top, and I think that's what led him to his victory was because they pitted both exactly at the same time,
right.
and they got out. And Michael McDowell's strategy, that was
That was awesome.
something else. That was
That was awesome.
risky. But the analysis was saying that it actually worked out better for him,
Yep.
the pit strategy, what he did, instead of pitting when everyone else did. And I believe that too. Might as well, while you're up front, you're going to stay up front until you have to pit, because if a caution comes, you're going to be pitting regardless.
Yep. Yep. And if there would have been a caution there, I think this race changes. If McDowell's up front with that, if that caution hits, we're not
Yep.
talking about, Kyle Busch, this fairy tale start to the year. We're talking about McDowell. So that was a nice strategy. That's something I very much appreciate about NASCAR, about F1, anything motorsports, is this actual intelligence and the ability to analyze what's going on in a race to make a decision like that affects you so greatly, because that right there is just a testament to his team, to his spotter, to everyone else there, to his crew chief, everyone involved.
Yep.
That was awesome. And also too, they said it's not like he was going to win the race,
No.
but they wanted to get him up closer. It's the way you do it. That is how you do it. It's how it's done. That was awesome.
Definitely a bold strategy. Ended up P18, not terrible. I just thought that was interesting. I just kept waiting. I said, when is he gonna pit? When's he gonna do it? But stayed up, and that's what led us into the tail end of the race, probably the last 20 laps or so. It was between, Bush, Elliott, Chastain, Suarez, and Harvick in our top five. Just an excellent ending to the race, but I'm sure you can agree with this too. The very end, I was not going to say it's over until it's over. We know with last week.
I was waiting on a phantom caution to come out, truth be told. I thought they were going to kind of shorten up the field and make it a nail biter, but I mean, at the end of the day, Kyle Busch ran away with it. Good for him. I think that's awesome. Great way to start the year for him over there at RCR.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
Joe Gibbs he's got to be kicking himself. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. And
where did Gibbs finish?
I'm a big Joe Gibbs fan, huge Joe Gibbs fan, but I want to see the best out of Kyle Busch. He's what got me into racing. Huge Kyle Busch fan. I'm going to follow him wherever he went. And they were kind of talking. They were saying, what did you think about the move from him going from Joe Gibbs Racing to RCR? Does he have anything to prove?
That's a good question. I'd say no. I think, in my opinion, he's a Hall of Famer regardless.
Yep.
What more does he got to prove?
I don't think it's more of what he has to prove. I think it's what he has left. What else can he accomplish throughout his career, going to a new team? I know there was a lot of doubt going into this season. Him joining RCR right now, Austin Dillon, he's good, not great. So going over to the new team, it was a little risky, but when you have a Hall of Fame driver like that, soon to be Hall of Fame driver, and the tail end of last year, it's not looking good with the contract talk. You lost his sponsors.
Yep.
There was a lot of uncertainty going into the season, but this off season, signed with RCR, and to get a win,
amazing.
Couldn't ask for anything more.
I think him and Dylan are a great duo. We'll have to obviously, as the weeks go on, as more podcasts come out, we're definitely going to have some discussions about what duos we feel are the top in the sport. Spoiler alert, I feel like that's a very good duo to have, in my opinion, of course, but that's neither here nor there. We'll get into that as we go. I want to say, is it time to maybe discuss our 16 playoff drivers and potentially our final four? Maybe just go through that real quick, nothing too long-winded by any means, but maybe get that out there and lock it in.
I'd say this is the perfect time to do it.
All right, go for
our first podcast.
Yeah, I agree.
We changed up any because we got proof of it. So I'll let you start off with it, and then we'll go from there. One last comment I wanted to mention too, when we're talking about teammates and stuff, my teammates that I'm going with this year that have been just driving excellently together, not a fan of him, but Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez. Come on. We already mentioned it earlier.
You're a Suarez guy.
P3, P4 finish for week 2. I think that is what they're building over at Trackhouse right now. New team. I think it's looking really good, and I'm really excited to see how they develop throughout the season.
Couldn't have said it better. Then again,
start off and tell us your picks.
Alrighty. Well, I'll just get right into it. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it by any means. So 1 to 16, no order as of now. I got Tyler Reddick, of course, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. Can't go wrong with that. Also, too, I do have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in here. Originally, freebie. Yep. Just couldn't have said it better. He's in there. I'm going to mark that as a win. Also, moving on, Ryan Blaney, Chastain, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon. Like I said, duo, can't beat it. Kevin Harvick. Do have Chase Briscoe in there. Rough start to the year. Don't care. Chase Briscoe's making the playoffs. And then my two kind of wild card picks here. I left them for last, but I got Noah Gragson and I got Ryan Preece.
Ooh.
I know Preece, people might be sleeping on Ryan Preece, but he looked great in Daytona. Looked
Yeah.
fantastic in Daytona. Didn't look too well today. I mean, he got taken out in the big one, if you
Yeah.
know. Uh, but yeah, I think Ryan Preece sleeper this year. Looks good.
Like it. Who's your four?
Do you want to say your 16 first, and then we'll do our four after?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
So
get in there.
going down the list, got Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher. As I mentioned before, I have faith in him.
Not sold.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., that's a freebie, as we mentioned. Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Alex Bowman. We were talking about this earlier this week. I don't know how we feel about that. Had to throw it in there, though. Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch. Another one very similar to my Chris Buescher is I got Brad Keselowski in there. Big fan of him, too.
He's a vet. I could see it.
Reliable.
Yep, I could see it.
Yep.
I might be kicking myself from my Gragson pick, but it is what it is. I had to go with the young gun.
Yeah, and then just the last person was Austin Cindric too. I think that was another one of the X factors. So really, my three X factors are Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, and Austin Cindric. I did not go with either Ty Gibbs or Noah Gragson for that. I don't think they're ready yet, but I hope I'm wrong. I'm a big fan of both of them, so I hope I'm wrong.
I could see Noah squeaking out a win, truthfully. Gibbs, I feel like this year he doesn't look good so far. Lot of racing to be had, but doesn't look good as of now. Do you want to go ahead and just do your final four since you're already going?
Yeah, definitely.
Go for
So my final four right now, I got Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, 2022 championship driver. Chase Elliott, could not go wrong with him, Mr. Reliable. And then I do have Kyle Busch in there, and I'm already on a good start right now. He's already, if everything goes as planned, locked into the playoffs. Man, I didn't decide it, but I'll do it live on the air. My championship driver for the year, I'm gonna go Ross Chastain.
Not a bad pick.
Oof.
Not bad.
Oof. That's live. That's a live decision right there.
I'll be honest, I don't have my winner like locked in either, so I guess I'm gonna have to
make it right now.
I'm gonna have to. Okay,
Yeah.
so first off, my final four. I have a few maybe surprises to a diehard NASCAR fan. They might be thinking, what's this kid thinking? But we'll see. We'll see how it is at the end of the year. But top to bottom, I got Chase Elliott, of course, Joey Logano, had to.
Yep.
This is where things get dicey. I got Tyler Reddick. We're gonna see. We're gonna see about Reddick. I think he has amazing potential. Tough start to the year, but again, 2 races in. Let's slow down. No need to get too worried yet. And then I got Austin Dillon running up number 4 there. I think it's a solid 4. A little risky.
I think we're ready for our first disagreement this year.
Okay. Well,
I don't think there is a chance that Austin Dillon is going to make it into the 4. Not a chance. I don't even have him making playoffs.
You don't have Dillon in the playoffs?
Nope. Do not have him in there.
Wow. Well, we're going to have to see come into the year.
And not to mention, last year, he squeaked into the playoffs.
Hey.
Squeaked in there.
We'll see. All I got to say about that.
Well, I'll let you finish. Who's your championship driver? Live reaction.
Live. I can't lie. This might not be the most, out of the box thinking, but I'm going Logano.
Logano back-to-back championships?
Back-to-back. He looked good. He has looked great, in fact, so far this year. I don't see any reason why he couldn't do it. Obviously, might not be the best odds, but I'm going back-to-back. Logano, that would cement himself. That'd be 3, if I'm not mistaken, and that's a resume there to that's a great resume.
That is bold right there. Bold prediction. I like it. I'm a fan of Logano. Me and you have seen him win
Yep.
twice now, back in
Yep.
Las Vegas last year and the championship.
I've seen
Quick
Logano win
driver. I'm a
almost too
fan of
much. Yep.
it.
I can't lie. I wasn't a fan when I first started watching NASCAR, and then you watch a guy win a few times, and it just happens.
That smile. Come on.
Yep. Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
We're kind of nearing the end of our podcast. Let's give a little preview going into next week, kind of see what we're thinking about, how we're feeling. So we're second race over in the West Coast stretch. We're going over to Las Vegas. That's
Vegas.
hometown of a lot of drivers. I know off the top of my head, Kyle Busch, Noah
Yep.
Gragson, their hometown.
Yep.
I can see, I don't want to call it, but I can see Kyle Busch again performing very well there. Is he
Uh,
is he taking in his hometown?
that would be insane. I don't know if I see that, quite frankly. That would be asking quite a bit. I can't give any predictions as of now, only because it's a long week.
Yep.
I want to
Yep.
see how these cars perform. I want to see, teams get some practice. They weren't even able to practice. They couldn't do
Just
qualifying
about
this
to
week.
say
Like,
that. Yep.
I would feel I can't say. Vegas, it's a week away. I'll lock in my picks for sure, and I'll have it in writing. But we got a long week ahead of us, and I think it's going to be much needed for some of these teams, considering the lack of practice they got this week.
We'll
Fontana in the rain. It
We'll try to
happens.
have our picks in later next week with our official picks going into Las Vegas. You can follow me on on Twitter, NASCAR Robot. Jordan's working on his right now, but we'll have that up later. By the time of next podcast, we'll have a solidified Twitter for him just to get our picks in writing. But yep, really excited for Las Vegas. Think it's going to be a great race. Super excited for that.
I think we're just going to have our official Twitter up and running, where
Yep.
my good friend here, Logan, and I can just go in. We can make our picks separately, have everything nice and organized. Potentially make an Instagram account. We'll discuss that in our free time. I think Instagram has a lot of potential there, but I'm hoping to also get this podcast up on Apple. We're gonna have to work out some details on it. We're gonna see what we can do. It was a fun first episode,
Yep.
in my opinion. We'll work out the bugs. You just got to bear with us here. We're not experts in the podcast field, but or in NASCAR. I mean, speaking for myself, I don't claim to be a NASCAR expert. I'm just a big fan. Simple
Big
as
fan.
that.
Yep.
I'm just a next gen fan. That's it.
Next Gen Burnouts. I know
Exactly.
one thing that podcasters say. You guys can give us a 5-star rating on that. That would really help out our reach. We're growing as a new podcast right now, and
Yep.
we'd love to, get as many new, old, experienced, veteran fans to listen to our analysis, provide feedback. We'd really love it.
And we do it for the fans. We do it for everyone listening. That's why we do it. It's just it's a passion of ours. Really quick, before we wrap this up, Logan, gotta say, we can't go without giving a quick Formula One prediction going into next year. Starts next week. Got the first race in Bahrain. What are we thinking?
Man,
What are we thinking?
I know this is going to sound like the most simpleton answer, but Max Verstappen, he's got a rocket ship on him.
Yep.
I think he's going to perform just well throughout the season.
Yep.
Red Bull, can't count him out.
You said it. We don't need to get into much, obviously. We'll talk Formula One next week after the race. Definitely excited for that. We're both pretty big Formula One fans ourselves, so
Not experts.
Never claim that. Ain't never claimed to be experts. Come on now.
Nope.
They know this. Our audience, they know this. But yeah, so we're going to be talking all things NASCAR, all things F1. And just to answer the question that I originally said, I'm thinking it's a Red Bull year. If it's not, I would be absolutely shocked. Hopefully Checo can maybe battle it out, but I don't really see it. I see Max going back to back, but
nope.
I digress. We'll discuss more next week. And yeah, do you have any finishing thoughts here, Logan?
I think we're good. Thank you everyone for our first listen, and definitely hope to do more of these going forward. Had a great time.
Yep. Great time.
We'll see you next week after the Las Vegas race.
There you go. Next Gen Burnouts, episode 1. It was a pleasure.
And a wrap. All right. You guys have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon.